Hey everybody, Rachel here with Givebutter. Thanks for joining for another success story. Today we are featuring the G.W.C. Brown Legacy Education Fund. Through a year-end team fundraiser, they raised over $36,000 to provide scholarships for students. Kenneth joins us today to share why they turned to Givebutter to reach their fundraising goals, as well as tips, tricks, and lessons learned along the way so that all of you who are watching can fundraise better. Kenneth, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So to start, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and your organization?
Okay, so my name is Kenneth Spencer. I serve as the treasurer for the G.W.C. Brown Legacy Education Fund. We are a 501c3 nonprofit located out of Norfolk, Virginia. And our mission is to help with the socioeconomic development of males in this area, predominantly in the African American communities. And so we've been around in various iterations for about 60 years as a part of our fraternity. But then we've been around as an official nonprofit since 2011. And so we've been doing a lot of work, but this year with COVID, of course, had to make some changes.
Yeah, I'm sure that's an amazing legacy. So how has that pivoted this year for you guys with in terms of your programming or how the scholarship works?
Sure. So we have a couple of things that we do. Our major thing is our scholarships, which are renewable for college students. So you go your first year, and then if you maintain the GPA, you get to renew it and have it for the next year and the next year. So up to 4.5 years worth of scholarship.
Wow.
The other thing is we do programs for youth that are in high school and middle school. And so years past, we actually had that as an in-person program. So of course, with 2020, we had to pivot to being virtual with that. And then the big thing was at the end of the year in December, we celebrate the founding of our fraternity, which is what our nonprofit is based on, and have a scholarship gala, an in-person event with over 300 people who normally attend a black tie event, which also has a component that raises money at the event. So we also have a silent auction. Couldn't do any of that, of course, with the issue of social distancing. So really needed to figure out how do we deal with that? And I will tell you, we were quite nervous for a while trying to figure out how to do a virtual event, a gala. And it was kind of like, I'm not sure our audience really works for that because our audience skews a little bit older, so not as much into technology. And if they're going to pay some good money, they want to have something to actually eat and be around some other folks. So this year we're looking for alternatives, and actually found Givebutter through another organization that was using it, and it showed up in one of my feeds from one of my friends. Said, hey, why don't you look at this process? So actually have to thank the Junior League of Washington, D.C., because my girlfriend is a member of the Junior League down here, and said, hey, let me show you this and maybe this could work. And literally was like finding a pot of gold.
That's amazing. So, speaking of finding Givebutter, shout out to our friends there who introduced you. Um, Tell us what you came to using Givebutter for. What was your strategy? What was the fundraiser all about?
Sure. So, we had a team meeting and said, okay, we've got to do something other than trying to do this virtual event that we were looking at. And so when I showed them the platform, I said, look, if we can encourage a few of the members to say, hey, I'm willing to reach out to my network, because that's how we do our in-person event. We sell tables, and normally members of the organization are selling those tables. So we said, let's just change and ask them if they can reach out to their networks to give a donation. We do the tax exempt letter, we can do this, we can do that. But the reality is we need a platform that's easy to maintain, to track it, and things of that nature. So the plan was, let's see if we can find 20 members of the organization, and they will each commit to raising $1,500. So of course, all of our board members, some of our newest members of the organization, let's target those 20, see if we can raise $30,000. The good news was, as we talked about it, and because the platform was so easy to, let me just show you guys what this looks like, I could show them the platform, show them a couple of examples of organizations that were doing it and had their team set up. And people said, oh, wait, well, I'll join. So we ended up getting more people who joined and found that unique sources of people who had networks that once the people saw, oh, here's what it is, and you have options. Do you want to give the money for scholarships? Do you want to give the money directly for programs for youth, directly for programs for adults, as well as for renovations to the building that we have? And I think that that really helped people see, well, first of all, this is a legitimate, request. Number two, the platform was very professional, having the options on different payment opportunities, seeing the actual individuals that the money was going to be committed to in their name, and then also the ability to put a message up there. We had a couple of people who put, their business up there, but mostly it was words of encouragement and how I support, the endeavor, and happy to see that you guys have a way to make this work.
Well, we're so proud to have hosted this campaign. I'm just sharing my screen here so everyone can see your beautifully done campaign here. Just thought your image was really striking. All of the design was so cohesive. It definitely stood out that you had such a large team member pool to all of us. We're like, that's amazing. And it sounds like people from your team were convinced to try it on Givebutter because they saw other examples and it looked easy enough.
Yes. Yeah, I think, the key is if something is easy. We walked some people through the process, quite a few were able to do it on their own. And then there's actually people that I set up the accounts for them so that they could literally sit down and just, all I need you to do is send me a picture. You send me a picture, I'll set up your account. And now all you have to do is send this link and you're able to get people to donate. And they were like, oh, well, if you're going to make it that easy for me, I can make some phone calls or send some emails.
That's right. Make it hard to say no.
Right,
So
right.
as you're looking at this, are there any tips, tricks, or lessons learned since you're new to Givebutter? Kind of looking back, anything that you would say that you've learned along the way?
Well, one, I've learned that you've got to reach out to everybody within your organization. When we started this, the group that put it together had some ideas on who we actually needed to reach out to. Okay, we're going to target these 20 people. But what we ended up finding out was it wasn't necessarily the people that we had originally targeted, but it was others who saw, oh, wow, this is a good effort. This is a great platform. And I can really see the professionalism in what they're trying to do versus, hey, can you give us some money? Hey, can you do this? Excuse me. The platform just made us look like a real organization that was organized and focused, and everybody could see what we were doing. So the first part I would say is jump in. We didn't use but about 5% probably of the capacity of the program, the platform. We did all of our communications directly to people versus doing the communication through the platform. But next year, or not necessarily next year, but the next time that we engage in this, we will probably use more of the elements within the platform to engage our folks. So I would say, even if you have no idea what you're doing, just jump in. It's really, really easy to use.
I love that. And what I hear you saying is just jumping in right away, even using just the basics of Givebutter, you can be successful and, like you, raise well over your fundraising goal, even though there's so many other features to explore. Um, I think that is really encouraging advice for other fundraisers who are watching and maybe new to Givebutter or intimidated to start their first team fundraiser or live event. Um, do you have any other words of wisdom or advice for fundraisers who are watching, who are starting out the new year, thinking about, their next digital campaign or event on Givebutter? Anything that you would say to them?
Sure. The one thing is, if this is going to be your first time and you're trying to figure out, do I really want to do this? The answer is yes. One of the really great parts about the platform is the people behind the platform. I think I sent 2 emails to ask questions and got answers right away. And then I had follow-up emails later saying, hey, just checking in with you to see if there's anything that we can do. And the platform also has, all the help that you really need. You're trying to figure out, hey, how do I want to set up this campaign? It talks about the different levels. How do I bring a team member in? And then it has coaching built in so that if your team member is like, well, what do I do? they can literally go to a page and see, well, when they set up their page, here's what you should do. Here's how you communicate. Make sure you have a good message on the front of your page. Make sure you have a nice, simple design so that when people look, it's not confusing. Okay, what's going on? Okay, we've got a center, we've got a campaign, we've got the name of the organization, and then we show you the beneficiary of what we do. So I think that becomes key. You're not trying to do too much all at once. And then as you get comfortable with it, you can then add other aspects and get more involved in the nuances of how the program works.
Excellent words of advice. Kenneth, thank you so much for joining us today, for being a part of the Givebutter fam. We are so proud to host your fundraiser on our platform. Where can people find you if they want to follow along after watching?
Sure. So we can be found either through Facebook, Twitter, G.W.C. Legacy Education Fund. We do have our website, which is actually gwcbrowneducation.org. So they can find us there. Also, we're the nonprofit arm. We are through our fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Alpha Phi Lambda chapter. So we are based out of Norfolk and Virginia Beach, Virginia. So you can always, look up Norfolk Alphas, and that will take you through to all of our social media platforms, as well as you can see the events that we have coming up in the way that we're trying to encourage the future development of youth as well as adults.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And for everybody who's following along, make sure to follow all those places. And also, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to Givebutter's YouTube channel so you never miss another success story again. Until next week, happy fundraising, everybody.
Okay, thank you.